I honestly think this is one of the most beautiful places in all of Dubai. It's called Al Qudra Lakes, and it's essentially a couple of man-made lakes in the middle of the desert, but it is absolutely peaceful and absolutely beautiful. And if you listen, you can even hear some of the birds, and that kind of makes me feel really happy. Today we're going to be speaking about this lens. It's the 24-105 G lens from Sony, and I'm going to give you my thoughts, ideas on it, my pros and cons, and even give you 2 tips that you can take away today to instantly get more out of this lens and probably every other zoom lens you own as well. And I think you're going to be particularly impressed with item number 2. I don't want to do what a lot of people do, which is give you the specs of this lens. Instead, I believe it's going to be far more beneficial if I just show you what's going to happen. So with that being said, let's cue the B-roll sequence. Everything you just watched was shot exclusively on this lens, and with that being said, it brings me to my first tip. Don't shoot in the middle. Shoot extremes. Shoot either 24 or 105, because that's going to give you a variety of shots when you're shooting a B-roll, and it helps you get the maximum you can out of every lens. And this goes for pretty much every zoom lens that you can buy. It doesn't matter if it's 1635, 2470, or 7200. That rule applies for them all, right? Because nobody wants to watch the same shot with the same focal distance. It gets a bit bland and boring after a while. So here's tip number 2. If you're going to shoot any subject and you want to increase the depth of field and make it look sharper, simply move away and then reframe the exact shot that you want. Your lens has a specific focal length, as in a specific section of the entire distance is going to look like it's in focus, right? So by keeping that focus point the same but increasing the distance, you now have a larger contrast. So it's going to look sharper by default simply because you moved away from your subject slightly farther. And that one tip could potentially save you a couple $1,000s every single time you want to buy a lens. Now onto the kind of more boring logistic stuff. The pros and cons. Con number 1 is that it vignettes at 24mm. Not a fan of that. I wish that wouldn't happen, right? However, if you're shooting photographs, you can always crop in slightly, or you can always frame your shot slightly wider, knowing that you're going to crop in later on. So that's one way around it. Con number 2 is it's kind of heavy in the middle somewhere. I don't personally mind this, but I know a lot of my friends commented immediately when they picked up the lens going, oh, it's a bit heavy. Not a con for me, but I can see why it would be con for other people. Con number 3 is going to be this. It is the perfect all-round lens. And with that being said, it is literally the perfect all-around lens. It is not a specialist by any means in any particular field, and that can be seen as a downside for a lot of people. Not for me though, because 90% of the time, this does more than enough that I need it for. So I'm actually quite pleased with this, but know that when you buy this lens, you are buying an all-rounder. You are not buying a specialist. So if you want to do something specific like landscapes, products, or portraiture, I would very much look into the lenses that are good for that. And last but not least, the only con that I can see is that it's $1,400, about that much. That's kind of an expensive lens, but I would urge you to buy it if you're looking for an all-rounder. This is the perfect lens, in my opinion, for anyone just starting out in photography or does a lot of generalized shoots, nothing specific yet. I'm happy. You know, am I happy that I paid $1,400 in the end? Yeah, I think it does the job incredibly well. Am I annoyed that it doesn't do everything perfectly? Kind of. Not really, because I'm eventually going to switch this out to a GM lens. I will eventually switch it out. So until then, this is going to be stuck on my camera every single day, and I like it for that. So now that the review is done, I really want to show you a bit of this place. So I'm just going to go in here. Hope that's in focus. Right, so I'm going to give you a glimpse of what Al Qudra Lakes look like.
Look at that. How beautiful is that? I mean, not that. That's my messy car, and I'm not going to apologize. I have a messy car, and I'm living my life to the fullest. But it's basically like a little makeshift YouTube studio at the moment. So I'm going to leave it here, guys. If you like the video, please remember to like, subscribe, comment, all of that good stuff. And I will see you in the next video. Peace!